Go grab your snack, go grab your drink or your drink because we got some things to talk about. Episode 3 got heavy and deep real fast, and I'm here for all of it, and I'm ready to talk to you about this, okay? So, just to get a couple of little smaller things out the way that happened in episode 3. So, if you remember in episode 2, Jax's dad shows up on her doorstep unexpectedly. And episode 3 opens up with her like arms crossed, all the black girl attitude, like I hear you out. And her husband standing right beside her, like in soldier mode, and like, hey, if you step out of line, sir, I got something for you. And they allowed a brief period of time for him to kind of air out what was on his mind. What he states is he has some medical issues, and he also wants to rekindle he wants to build a relationship with his daughter. Jax is not really feeling. I don't know if it seems like she's not feeling the fact that he showed up unexpected, but also his checkered past and history with her. I believe I don't remember what season it happened, but he has established himself as a deadbeat daddy. Okay, with a checkered past. I believe he went to prison. I mean, he has really done some things and haven't really showed up as a father for Jax. And so they let him air out his grievances for a little bit and then shut their door in that man's face. Okay, he shows up maybe like 3 more times throughout the episode, still in intentions still being stated the same. But this last time that we see him and Jax in a scene, she lets him know, like, listen, if you step out of line in a way that I feel like I'm not being treated well, I'm cutting you off and it's going to be your loss. Do I make myself clear? She made herself clear. And I applaud her for that because if you have watched since season 1, Jax has worked on herself in a conscious manner. And there have been other circumstances that have forced her into therapy, doing shadow work, all the things. And then I feel like in this moment, when she was able to establish her boundaries with her father, that was the evolved, more aware Jax that was able to speak up for the younger Jax who didn't have a voice or an advocate or a protector, but she was able to establish that with him. And I just think that that was chef's kiss. So thing 2 we got to talk about. I knew Tony was not gone. So Jax and Lewis's youngest child, Naomi, was caught shoplifting when she was out. I think she skipped school with a couple of her friends and she ended up getting arrested. So her parents go pick her up. She is suspended from school for a few days. And in one of the scenes when she's at home with her father during her suspension, he starts to, ask her questions like, where did these friends come from? Why do you think, that was okay to do? Just trying to figure out what was on her mind in the situation. What ends up being revealed is she has fallen out with her best friend Hattie. Now, if you don't know, Hattie is Tony's daughter. And Hattie and Jax and Lewis's daughter Naomi are best friends with Hattie and were best friends before the affair. But they've kept the information about the affair and the baby from the children. And she tells her daddy that how, she's just really not in a good space, with Hattie. But she says, and daddy, this is the kicker. She tells these lies, and she told this one particular lie saying that when you and mom was separated, that her mom and you had an affair and that baby was yours. Ain't that crazy? And I just could imagine that, baby, if Lewis was a white man, that man would have turned ghost white, okay? And he didn't reveal it to her in that moment, about that lie that she think it is actually the truth. And so in one of the scenes later on that day, Jax is shown coming into her family home. And she sees her husband on the back porch lighting a fat blunt. And she walk outside and she like, oh, it's been that kind of day for you too. And she sits down by him, rests her head on his shoulder, and they begin to, debrief their day. And his debrief was about this conversation that he had with Naomi and this story about the affair and the baby. And Jax is, reflecting on what happened in the moment. And she's like, I really think that we need to tell the kids. And what brings her to that conclusion is with the situation with her dad, she is not really buying the reasons he is giving her of why he's shown back up in her life. She thinks it's something else too. It's something that he's not telling her. What has also been revealed up until this point too, that kind of informs her decision to want to tell her children and be honest about what's happened, is some dirty, dark skeletons that belong to Ozzy and his family has surfaced. And she just sees the effect, the negative effect that hiding things, in a family, especially from your children, can be harmful, long lasting, right? You want to know what happened? You want to know these dark skeletons that's done popped up about Ozzy? Girl, take a sip, honey, because you gonna need it. Because let me tell you what happened. So, as you know, or if you don't know, Jax has tasked her private investigator, Daniel, to keep an eye on Ozzy's sister. As of now, we really don't know a lot about Ozzy. We know what he's accomplished in the public light, but who he is behind closed doors as a person, we really don't know yet. And we don't know much about his family, where he comes from, what his history is, none of that, right? Well, in this scene, Daniel is in Ozzy's home having a conversation with his sister. And from another room, they hear glass break. And Ozzy's sister rushes in the room, sees him laid out on the floor with a lamp broke beside him, and she rushes back out of the room. She shows back up with Narcan in her hand. She administers it. He comes back to life. And the next scene, we see a private doctor, where we assume he's coming from a room where Ozzy is. And he comes in and gives the family an update, stating that Ozzy will be fine in a few days. He just needs to rest. Jax is present, Daniel is present, his family is present, and his manager is present. And Jax is like, hey, are you all not going to take him to the hospital to get him checked out? And the mom looks at the doctor and says, the mom says, like, basically it's not in the best in the best interest, to bring that type of attention to him. And she was like, she meaning Jax. Jax says, well, what about what's good for Ozzy? And how the family reacts is like, they're really not concerned. They're more concerned with the impact that will be on his persona, his image, maybe even career opportunities, etc., but not necessarily more concerned with the well-being of Ozzy the human. And the family doctor gives us a little bit more insight about how long this has been going on. First off, now we know he's a drug addict. And his mom turns to the doctor and say, Dr. Such and such, this is not the first time this has happened, has it? And from the body language of the doctor, you understand this has been going on. Like, this is just regular business, And so now you see Ozzy, the murder suspect in his girlfriend's murder, has been humanized on another level. Because now we see that he has struggled with addiction. And if you think that it didn't get deeper and darker, honey, buckle up for the ride, because we finna take off. The next scene, because Jax needs more information. And now with this being revealed the way that it is, if this family was able to keep what it seems like a years long addiction a secret, a secret from the public, from anybody outside of his immediate circle, what else are they hiding? What else will she find out as she starts to have to build a defense case for Ozzy as her client? So she calls in her therapist friend to do a private session at his home. And the therapist friend and Ozzy go into a room. And the therapist friend kind of sets the tone, letting him know, hey, this is a safe space. You can, basically letting him know, you can talk to me. And then he asks her questions about her credentials and all this good stuff and, this back and forth. And, she just let him know, hey, this is a safe space. And then he does this like real sarcastic, emotion, like, ooh. And she's like, what's up? And he's like, I don't believe in safe spaces. He said, the last time that I felt safe was in a crib. That one statement opens up a whole nother perspective of where his mind could be. If this person has not felt safe since he inhabited a crib, no wonder he's been deflecting, denying, and defending. Because you got to think, as a being, if you're in fight or flight mode all the time, you're being attacked from left and right, no one is protecting you, you don't feel safe, you are going to build defense mechanisms around you to keep yourself safe, right? This brings explanation to that because I'm all this stuff that's happened in this episode is like it's more questions and more problems that's arising. But for Ozzy, it's definitely more questions, but we also have more answers, but we definitely got more problems. Okay. So we find out that he has been addicted to drugs, to some type of substance, since the tender age of 8 years old. It starts out with him drinking caffeine in order to stay up long hours to work, and it ends with him being a heroin addict shooting up in his arm. We find out that he's 2 years sober due to the help of his girlfriend, now dead girlfriend Wendy, and that these circumstances around him and the stress that is bringing him cause the relapse. We also find out too what has exacerbated the addiction over the years was he was dealing with another demon. He was sexually assaulted at the age of 13 by an unidentified grown woman. And so now I can sit back and be like, yes, right now he is definitely a villain. He is a murder suspect in the murder of his girlfriend. But he's also a victim. And both of those things, as we know how this thing works, can be true at the same time. And to explain more about how he's shown up until now, checked out, not really wanting to, take ownership or accountability for anything that's happened. We understand what is the root cause of this in his own psyche through this therapy session. Episode 2, I wanted to slap him. I really did. But in episode 3, I want to give him a hug. Because this grown man has been through a lot. And he hasn't been kept safe. And he hasn't had a protector. And now the protector, the person who's seen him for who he was and was actually in his corner, is now dead. And the second person that he feels that trust with and safe space with is his lawyer. How is Jax going to navigate this? He's delicate. He's mentally fragile. He's emotionally fragile. We got an addiction on the table. We got probably potential suicidal. We have all types of things on the table that she's going to have to juggle to keep her client in a state of mind that's going to help her to bring forth the best defense case that she possibly can. Base case scenario, prove him not guilty. That's the new victim. But we got a new villain. I need Bill to come to the front of the congregation. I don't trust Bill at this point. Bill is the junior lawyer who is trying to make partner at Jax's firm. And in this episode, if you remember in episode 2, he self-invited himself to lunch with Jax. And this is his attempt to kind of bond with her because the other partners have informed him that Jax is the missing link to get that green light in order to make him partner. So when they're sitting down having lunch, Jax is kind of cold, but they're going back and forth, playing it coy, playing it professional, whatever. And then he pulls out his phone and shows her a picture of his children. His children are biracial. And she's like, oh, I didn't know your wife was black. And after this, Jax kind of softens up towards him. Now, he used the wife as an entrance point with this black woman to make a case about him being maybe likable, relatable, trustworthy, whatever, right? In episode 3, we get the real tea. Now, what he has established that he is married to a black woman and has biracial children. But what he hasn't been forthcoming about is the state of his marriage with this black woman. It looks like that him and his wife are split up. He might have even got kicked out of the family house because we see him lurking outside of his family home in two scenes. In the first scene, he's sitting across the street watching her get out of the car, I guess get some belongings out the back of a car. He makes a phone call to her while he's looking at her. She looks down at the phone, Gawk said it, send his ass to voicemail, right? The next time we see him in the second scene is when it's nighttime. It looks like she might be coming home from work, getting groceries out of the back of the vehicle. He gets out of his car and approaches her. And she's just very like, why are you here? You need to leave. And he's like, I think this is ridiculous. I just want to see my kids. And as she approaching the house in a very brisk manner, she's like, the only person that think this is crazy is you. Goodbye, Bill. And slammed the door in his man's face. He seemed a little suspect because it shows how much is he gonna be willing to throw my girl underneath the bus to make partners. Because in his personal life, he is in a very vulnerable state. And is he gonna be willing because he feels like he's losing in one area of his life? He'll do whatever it takes to feel like he's winning in the other. We don't know. But there's another scene where Jax is in her office. It's nighttime, after hours. And, she's like having a personal conversation with herself, about just how things are going. And he walks in and they seem to act, even on his side and her side, they seem to be very transparent and honest during this conversation. But I still can't tell if he is solid from a moral and standard perspective. Will he be willing to throw my girl Jax underneath the bus just for an opportunity to make partner? I don't know. Okay, y'all, let's talk about best dressed. So there was a scene at the beginning of the episode where Ozzy is all over the place. He's out on bail, but it seems like that Ozzy doesn't understand the parameters of his bail. And so his lawyers have to go back to see the judge in order to make their case, ask for forgiveness, explain why, and then plead with the judge not to provoke his bail. But Jax come in on one of these appearances that they have to make before the judge in this warm yellow, gray, white, and black tie-dye shirt. It's like chiffon, very relaxed material with these high waist, warm cream pants. It gave me subtle professional, like I had to rush into court to address something very serious, but I still showed up to do the job. Okay. Favorite hairstyle. In this same scene, Jax's hair is styled in a side bun, slicked down. And I just think that it was giving professional, but a little sad because I'm always here for a side ponytail. Okay. And favorite song. So I think the episode opens up to Too Short's Blow the Whistle, but only the music. And I was thinking like, that's the way, because Too Short got a little bop to it. And they didn't drop them lyrics, but they dropped that beat. Because I didn't get to what was the end of episode 3. I'm going to keep that. You got to watch it because the deepest bomb is dropped at the end of episode 4. And I ain't going to even talk about that. I'm going to leave that up to you. You gotta tap in. You got to go watch. Until the next time, okay, I need you to tune in, turn the volume up, and get into it with me.